It's Thursday, ladies and gentlemen, and you know what that means. LA Clippers basketball is back. The road to the title resumes. And where does it begin? In Oklahoma City. But before we talk about that, going to be looking at the road ahead, the second half of the season, or the unofficial second half of the season, the post-All-Star break part of the season, and the potential road to the number one seed. And then some Lob City drama. Going to be talking about it all on today's Locked On Clippers.
Our Locked On Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, sir. You are locking in with the Clips. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers the first listen of your day, your team every day. I'm your host, Darian Vaziri, born and raised in LA, and in my 19th season as a Clipper fan. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod and subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for even more LA Clipper, LA Sports, and NBA content. And Locked On Clippers is free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, where I want you to let me know the answer to two questions. One, are we going to get the number one seed? Yes or no? Two, give me your score prediction against the Thunder on Thursday. And in this episode, I'm going to be talking about the road ahead, the unofficial second half of the season. I know the title of the video. It's not the actual second half of the season. We're past the halfway point of the season, but you know how it goes when it's post-All-Star break. And then previewing the OKC game, how big of a game it is, what to look for, and some Lob City drama at the end involving our old coach, Glen Rivers, and former players. So let's begin by saying that this episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. All right, so everybody always says it's the second half of the season, but post-All-Star break is definitely past the halfway point of the season because 82 games in a season, after game 41, it's past the halfway point, but for whatever reason, because it's the All-Star break, it's these last, for the Clippers, it's 29 games left. 29 games where this is where NBA regular season basketball really intensifies. The games become more important. Even though they count the same in the schedule as games before the All-Star break, they just feel bigger. You got guys going harder because you're really trying to make that push for the playoff spot or the play-in spot or your seed. This is where, the going gets tough and we see who the pretenders are and who's going to solidify their place in the big dance. And in terms of the Clippers, tied for the best record in franchise history through 53 games, 36-17, 29 games left, and the majority of them are on the road because we've played 26 home games, right? And we're 20-6 at home. Great home record. So we've only got 15 home games left. Oh, actually, no, the majority of them would be at home. Yeah, 15 home games, and we've got 14 road games left. My math was off for a second. So that's good. It's about the same, though, right? It's about even. We're only half a game behind the Thunder and 2 games behind the Timberwolves, but it's really like this. We're 36-17, they're 39-16. So we have 3 less wins than them, but 1 more loss. They've played 55 games, so 2 more games than us. It's very catchable. They're very catchable. As good as Minnesota's been, you never know what can happen. They could lose a couple of games. Some important player misses a game or two. Who knows? And then you're right there. So the Clippers should not count themselves out for this 1 seed. This is the best chance we've ever had probably in our entire franchise history of getting the 1 seed. And to have our players healthy, Kawhi Leonard did miss that last game against the Warriors with that adductor strain. But apparently he didn't even – I think it was load management because he said what injury when he was asked about it at All-Star Weekend. So that doesn't sound very serious to me. Kawhi Leonard's going to be fine. Everybody's clear, ready to go for the OKC game. And that's just the beginning of what's going to be this final stretch of the season. And the Clippers got to lock in. This is where you put it together. We were looking a little bit tired before the All-Star break. Ivica Zubac had a little bit of more extended time to recover from that injury, and he was just starting to get more minutes with that calf injury that he had. And then, James Harden, he played really well against the Heat and the Hawks, but he was looking a step slower, in terms of beating guys off the bounce towards the end, towards the last month or so, and had some rough shooting games. But for him to get a little extended time off was nice. And hopefully Paul George, he did play in the All-Star game and he looked pretty good in it. And hopefully he didn't, got some rest to his groin as well. So recharge the batteries, second half of the season time, and the Clippers got to go all out. Hopefully that break will do them well because we are an older team, and we got to take advantage of this upcoming stretch. Now, that being said, it's not like we have a bunch of easy games coming up. I mean, OKC, it's a first of a back-to-back in which we're traveling. And I think Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, just judging from the way that we've done things this season in terms of load management and lack of it, I should say, I think that we're going to have them both play both of these games against the Thunder and the Grizzlies. The Thunder one is obviously a huge one for the standings that I'm going to talk about in a second. The Grizzlies one, we have to win it. They're extremely banged up. I know it's the second night of a back-to-back, but the Oklahoma City Thunder, they're a really, really solid team. A very, very good team. Second seed, we already know. The Grizzlies, we got to take advantage of that, especially if we lose to OKC, to bounce back and get back in the right direction before we come home and play Sacramento, which is not going to be an easy game at all. But Sacramento and the Lakers back-to-back. We have a 2-day break between Sacramento's game and the Laker game, and we're at home for both. So being at home for 2 days of rest, that's going to be nice. And those 2 games are going to be pretty big because, Sacramento, they're trying to get into these playoff spots, those top 6 spots. And the Lakers, they're in a play-in war right now. But LeBron James is out against the Warriors. It was just reported on Wednesday that LeBron's not going to play on Thursday. So will LeBron play against the Clippers? I think it'll be a week later he'll play. It's insane to me that LeBron went to the All-Star weekend and played in the game and then was out for the Lakers game. If that had happened to Paul George or Kawhi, like Kawhi basically had missed this upcoming game, I would have been so angry. I would have been so unbelievably angry because at the end of the day, your job is to this team. You're the team that pays you your salary, and you need to perform. You need to be available. If you're gonna miss a game, okay, but miss the All-Star game. Don't travel to Indiana. Thankfully, we don't have to worry about that. So that Grizzlies game is gonna be big, and then that Lakers and Kings 3-game homestand, Sacramento, Lakers, and Washington. It would be really nice if we took care of business because then we have 3 tough road games at Minnesota, at Milwaukee. That couldn't be a tougher back-to-back. Minnesota and Milwaukee back-to-back games, and then at Houston. So those are going to be tough. But coming up, the most important game, the only one that matters right now, OKC on Thursday. Going to be talking about it coming up. I got to tell you a little something about LinkedIn Jobs. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. I've never actually looked to hire people on LinkedIn, but I've been hired on LinkedIn, and I thought I did a pretty good work for my job. So I've had a good experience with LinkedIn, and LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. It gives you access to professionals you can't find anywhere else. LinkedIn does all that while making the process easy and intuitive. Hiring is easy when you have that many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's available on Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. All right, Clippers, Thunder. Let's talk about it. Let's look at the standings real quick and where we are relative to OKC. And if you look, we are neck and neck with them. Clippers are 36-17. OKC is 37-17. So just half a game above us. One game in the win column. If we win on Thursday, we are 37-17 and they're 37-18. Where does that put us? Number 2 in the West. And Denver Nuggets have 2 more losses than us right now. What a win that would be to go into the second place slot. And of course, with the Thunder, we have played them twice this season. The first time, without Kawhi Leonard, we got absolutely smoked. They actually were the team that ended our 9-game winning streak. And then we played them in that game at home where Paul George just went absolutely ballistic on January 16th. He had 38 points in that one, and we won 128-117. So we've played 2 games against them. To win that game would be absolutely massive because guess what? We don't play them for the rest of the season. So this is it. This game determines who wins the tiebreaker, and there very well could be a tiebreaker. And that 2 seed versus the 3 seed makes a big difference to me. If it's against OKC, who knows if they'll make the second round? Who knows if we'll make the second round? But being the 2 seed and playing against the team that had to fight through the play-in, had to go through some wars, I'd rather do that. And the biggest reason, you get home court in the second round, and the Clippers have never gone to reap the benefits of being a 2 seed in the playoffs with the crowd, because the only time we've ever gotten it was the 2019-20 season, and we did not get to reap the benefits of it because there was a tournament in Orlando that we don't speak about anymore. OKC, what a big game this is. And of course, it's just funny, OKC and us battling in the standings because we're the ones who traded SGA to them, and SGA's an MVP candidate, and Kawhi Leonard's an MVP candidate. I mean, this is going to be a doozy. ESPN matchup predictor has it at 50.8% that the Thunder are going to take this one. The Thunder in their last 5 games are 3-2. We are also 3-2 in our last 5. They've won their last 2 with the exact same scoreline of 127-113. That's super odd. When's the last time you see a team win with the exact same scoreline in back-to-back games? That's pretty wild. They're 21-6 at home. So they have a very good home record as well, almost identical to ours. It's crazy how close we are. I mean, after the trade, the Clippers were better every single year since the trade. Of course, that's expected, right? Because Oklahoma City, their benefit of the trade was the long-term game. And they definitely look like they're in a position to have a better future than us. But as long as if one of them gets a championship and the other one doesn't, that's who wins the trade, right? So we'll see. I'm not saying we're going to win the championship, but I think we're closer this year. The standings say otherwise, though. But we've been better every single year. This is the first year since the trade, and it's year 5 that, okay, we shall see now. Maybe the Thunder are going to be better than us this year. We'll see. I still put my money on us. We're a more experienced team. And this game is going to be interesting because 1-1, right? They haven't beaten us yet with Kawhi, but this is in Chesapeake. Or they call it Paycom Center now. But starting lineup should be intact for both teams. So we should be going with James, Terrence, Paul, Kawhi, and Zoo. And they should be going with SGA, Lou Dort, J-Dub, Chet, Holmgren, and Josh Giddey. So, I think we're going to have James Harden guarding Josh Giddey to start, Terrence Mann guarding SGA, Kawhi Leonard guarding probably Lou Dort, Paul George guarding J-Dub. You'll probably have Paul George and Kawhi, alternate on possessions like that with that. And then Zubats guarding Chet Holmgren. Now, last time we played the Thunder in Oklahoma City, Josh Giddey made a bunch of threes. He's not a very good three-point shooter, so I hope that doesn't happen again. SGA, while he did give us the business, I remember Terrence Mann doing a pretty good job on him when we played him. So hopefully he can do that again. I mean, of course, with the Thunder, they only have one guy that averages 20 points. Jalen Williams is their second leading scorer. He averages 19 points a game. SGA averages 31. If you can slow him down, he's so efficient this season, but if you can slow him down, easier said than done, that's how you can get the W against them. And hopefully Terrence Mann can try to do that, get physical with him, try not to foul him. I mean, he's so good at getting to the line, and hopefully force him to take contested threes instead of his little 10-footer, 12-footer that when he gets into his sweet spot, SGA in the mid-range, he's money. But yeah, like last time, we held him to 11 for 25 and 1 for 6 from 3. So even though he got 31 points, we made him work for that 31 points. He shot 44%, so that's pretty good. But we allowed Chet Holmgren, who dominated us last time. He really dominated us. Well, not last time, but last time we were in Oklahoma City. And one of the reasons is, when we play zoo and drop, and we do play zoo and drop, and you have a pick and pop big, you are conceding the open three. So I'd like to see the Clippers be sharp on that rotation. If we're going to play zoo and drop, we got to just rotate on a Chet and hopefully get them to swing the ball to Josh Giddey. I would think that's the game plan. It's obviously easier said than done. But, Chet was clowning us last time, throwing it off the backboard to himself. So hopefully we can keep him at bay because he really gave us the business. And you know what I would like to see us do? Let's make Chet Holmgren guard a bit in the post. He's a good rim protector. I think he's good guarding the pick and roll. But let's have Zoo back him down a bit, wear him down. Why not? Zoo in the post is not inefficient. And what better way to try to get him back into playing his best by giving him some post touches? Just an idea. I would like to see Russell Westbrook attack the rim against these guys. I know they just picked up Bismack Biyombo because they're really thin at the 5. At times they would go with Kenrick Williams at the backup 5 or Jalen Williams from Arkansas at the 5. Go to the rim. This is a Russ kind of game. But, yeah, go Clippers. I think we're going to win it. I think it's going to be a good game, though, but I think we're going to win it. And coming up, going to be talking about some recent Lob City drama. Glen Rivers, JJ Redick, Patrick Beverley. Going to be talking about it coming up. I got to tell you a little something about FanDuel. Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. You can bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, and more. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. I've been telling people to bet on the Clippers winning the championship. The odds are only going to get higher for that. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA. All right. So, in recent news, it's been a couple of days without basketball, and things are getting a little interesting. I mean, I can't even say that. It's just, there's nothing to talk about, so dudes are just having like a high school gossip session drama on the media. I just want to say, how funny is it that all these ex-Clippers are in the media? JJ Redick, Jamal Crawford, Austin Rivers, Ryan Hollins. I mean, so many members of Lob City. I think it's really funny. I'm probably forgetting some too. Well, Patrick Beverley, he's not part of Lob City, but he's got his own podcast now. I mean, it's just hilarious. And it started with JJ Redick going at Glen Rivers for not taking accountability. Of course, Glen Rivers is 3-7 with the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, I wasn't the host of this podcast during Glen Rivers' time as Clipper coach. That would be Lucas Hahn and then Charles Mockler and William Updike. But if anybody knows me from before my time at Locked On and my content on Dime Dropper about Glen Rivers, especially, before he got fired, you guys know what I think about him. JJ Redick was absolutely right. Here's my thing about Glenn, though. I am a big believer that it's not all on the coach. This is the NBA, the most player-driven league of any team sport in America. The players have the most weight on their shoulders, not the coach, in basketball. The players have the most power in basketball. In soccer, you have to choose your formation, choose your tactics. In NBA, obviously, it's tactical, but it's way different than your formation in soccer. In baseball, making the pitching decisions, pitching changes, that's huge. Football play calling. In the NBA, when we have Kawhi Leonard, we have a great chance of winning. When we don't have him, we're not a championship team. It's very simple. It's very simple. Basketball is a player's game, and the NBA is a player's league. Glen Rivers absolutely holds fault majorly for the 3-1 against Denver, but also to a degree the 3-1 against Houston. First off, I think we were unprepared mentally to play that Game 5. I think that the Rockets played with a level of desperation, and we totally were like, okay, well, Game 6 is the one back at our house, and I thought we didn't even make that tough for them. And, I'm not sure if that was, I wonder what Glen Rivers said. It's not like he said, guys, don't try tonight, but, I have a hard time believing that he emphasized finishing the series so much in that game, just because I know you're naturally the Rockets, an elimination team down 3-1 at home is going to play with desperation, but we were so superior to them in that series, and we could have made that game tougher. I think we could have absolutely made that game tougher, but we were overconfident. However, no matter what Glen Rivers says, you shouldn't need a grown man to motivate you at that point when you're one game away from a conference finals and making history, right? So the players deserve more blame. But Game 6, he didn't call timeouts like in the fourth quarter. He took way too long between timeouts. It was insane. The momentum was completely taken out of that building. However, and it's because I don't have time to listen to his shows and a bunch of other people's shows, but I would like to hear if JJ Redick has taken accountability for the fact that he shot 11 for 36 in the last 3 games of that series. Jamal Crawford didn't shoot well in that series either. CP3 couldn't. He had 8 points in the fourth quarter of that Game 6. He was struggling to get good shots off because he was small. And when you have a 6-foot pass-first guy that is supposed to be your best scorer in crunch time, that's a problem. Blake Griffin went 0 for 5 in that fourth quarter. DeAndre Jordan saved the ball underneath our own basket, and it went to Corey Brewer for 3. That's not Glen Rivers' fault. And I do blame Glen Rivers, and JJ is right that he doesn't take accountability. But that squad needs to take more accountability. And the fact that they all complain about each other, they all talk about chemistry issues. I knew it wasn't peaches and cream, especially those last 2 years. But when we were winning 56-plus games 3 consecutive seasons from 2012-13 to 2014-15, and Chris Paul and Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan were electric together. Chris Paul and Blake Griffin was one of the hardest pick and rolls to guard in the NBA. You didn't think this was going on behind the scenes. You didn't think CP3 and Blake were beefing this much and that this was this much ego involved. It's like we were right there. We needed 30 for 30 one day. But then Patrick Beverley, who I adore, and I like a lot more than JJ Redick, by the way. One, because of play style differences. I'm always going to take a guy that guards and does the intangibles than a guy that was a fantastic movement shooter and a great spot-up shooter and specialist. But I'm always going to take a Pat Bev. I think his game translates more to the playoffs. And I think it was shown by one of them being a starter on a conference finals team, and the other one didn't necessarily perform well in the playoffs after the first season we had him. He was never a starter on a conference finals team, JJ Redick, on any team. Even though he had some good years in Philly after, he was close, but Kawhi put an end to that. Pat Bev said that he defended Doc. Of course, this is his second time being coached by Doc. Now he's with Milwaukee, Pat Bev. And he said that I forgot exactly what he said to rebuttal. Oh, he said that Glen Rivers basically saved him from, no team was going to start him at the time. He gave you a starting job. You should be thankful. And here's my thing about JJ. He was on the Bucks and he wasn't getting much time the year before he came to the Clippers, but Monte Ellis had just moved to the Mavericks. So JJ probably would have been a starter on that Bucks team, but they weren't going to be very good. And JJ rebuttal to that by saying he had a contract 4 years to be a starter somewhere else with a player option. And I think that team might have been Minnesota, but they weren't good. So Pat Bev was wrong, but he's right in the sense that Glen Rivers gave JJ his most relevant role of his career, which was a starter on a contending team that was like bound to be a really good team in a very competitive West that was a second-round team. So the Clippers gave JJ Redick the biggest spotlight of his career. And Glen Rivers did that. He really did that. But Pat Bev was wrong in that instance. And then he rebutted with something else, and went on his podcast and said we should have played Jamal more than JJ in the series against Houston. Look, they both really underperformed in that series. Jamal was perfect for his role. He had a bigger role than JJ in the sense that he had to create whenever Chris Paul went to the bench. And it wasn't as easy to create shots back then when you played two bigs than it is now. But, they both weren't good defensively. So saying that we should have played Jamal more, it feels like very revisionist history for Pat Bev. And then JJ pulled up his stats guarding Harden, which looked good. He said he held him to 38%. I mean, I'm not denying that those stats aren't accurate. My thing was, my memory is this, because I remember that series vividly. I went to Game 4. JJ actually did a better job on Harden than I thought he would do. I remember watching the series and I was like, okay, JJ's obviously not locking him up. He can't lock James Harden up. But he was doing a good enough job that we weren't getting abused, right? But that stat, I don't think that stat is fully, that's a flawed metric to make it seem like you played lockdown defense. Because if you held him to 38%, which you did in those stats, then you locked him down. But here's the thing that doesn't account for. What about the times where we have guys helping and loading up because they're afraid that JJ can't guard James Harden one-on-one and James Harden's getting assists? I mean, we see what James Harden's gravity does and has always done. So you don't get credit, or you don't get, it doesn't go in the stat sheet when you are in these metrics, when JJ, let's say, gets blown by and then he kicks it out to Trevor Ariza for three and then Ariza scores. James Harden doesn't get a shot attempt. So you see, I mean, JJ did fine in that series defensively. His problem was offensively, but that stat's still a little flawed. At the end of the day, Pat Bev was just wrong. And then you had former Clipper Austin Rivers stepping in, defending his dad. And again, he said, and he made some good points. He said, how is Glen Rivers not held accountable when he gets fired every single place? And he gets rightfully fired, by the way, Austin. I love you. I love Austin Rivers. I thought he was great in all three playoffs we had him. And he always made big shots. And I'll never forget 2016 when he played with the broken eye. Or the bloody eye. But 2015, he was part of the reason we were up 3-1. And he's part of the reason we beat San Antonio. I don't blame Austin at all, really, for that series. I thought he played really well. And that whole postseason, I thought he played well. But he didn't. I mean, his dad doesn't take accountability. That's a fact. He doesn't for anything. We just didn't make shots. And then would you ask Pop that question? Like, are you serious comparing yourself to Pop? That's a disgrace that Glen Rivers was even top 15 all time, voted in. I don't know how guys like Alex Hannum and Bill Sharman, these, LA, USC legends that won championships at the ABA level and the NBA level didn't make it. I guess we just didn't have enough educated voters. But Glen Rivers should not make it for that one title he's winning because he's really nice to everybody. All due respect to Glen as a man. I've never met him, but Austin Rivers, I thought it was funny that he took shots at JJ at the end, saying that he couldn't guard at the end of games and stuff like that. That was absolutely true. He was one-dimensional, couldn't put the ball on the floor. It's all true. And Austin was a better defender than him. But it's just funny seeing them just go at each other like this. And they're all former Clippers, which brings us more attention. They're bringing more attention to Clipper history, which I think is comedy. Because 15 years ago, there was no attention to Clipper history, no nothing. There was nothing to talk about. We're getting talked about. This is amazing for me. And by the way, so Lob City, we needed 30 for 30 at one point. Please. Hopefully I can watch it. This is the dream, right? We win a championship with this team. We've already written the wrong of Lob City with the conference finals berth. Now we're trying to, not make 2-1-3B just the conference finals berth. But we win a championship. We got our new stadium. 10 years, maybe 5 years time, we kick our legs up, or kick back, put our legs up, and watch the 30 for 30 on Lob City Clippers, the rise and fall. That would be, come on. It changed the Clippers forever. Anybody that wants to say Lob City doesn't matter, that's all the stands that weren't there for it. I don't care about you guys at all. You don't feel the pain that we felt, the highs and lows. You don't understand what it was like when we first got Blake. It was just, our games were fun again. We had something to look forward to. It was crazy. Blake Griffin changed my life because I care about the Clippers so much. And as a little kid, you have a bad day at school and the Clippers are going to be there for you. Basketball's going to be there for you. You can always play. But then at night, got to do your homework. What's in front of you on prime ticket? Ralph Lawler, Mike Smith. Blake Griffin made those nights wins. They made me go to sleep with a smile. And, I mean, I watched some great basketball because of him. And Chris Paul, everybody in Lob City, even JJ, Jamal, all those guys that underperformed in the playoffs routinely, I still got, they still contributed to a very, very huge turning point in Clipper history that I don't think we'd be here with these guys without. I think when they saw that the Clippers could be successful and what it looks like when we're good, they're like, okay, I can rock with this. So, shout out Lob City for the drama. It's a telenovela. But anyway, that's it for me in this one. We're back, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what you think of the episode. Let me know what your score prediction is for the Thunder game, and if we're going to get the number 1 seed or not. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod. Subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for even more NBA, LA Clipper, LA Sports content. I just talked about all the teams in the Eastern Conference, time-stamped. Talked about every team because I wanted to do content on more teams on my channel, so check that out. And by the way, a huge thank you to everybody. We did successfully reach 5,000 subscribers on YouTube, and we're 19th place out of 30 for NBA teams for Locked On channels. I want to say thank you to all you guys so much, especially the regulars that comment and watch every video. I really appreciate you. I try my best to answer all your comments. I really take time out of my day to do this. I know not every host does that, so, I don't think I'm too good to respond to anybody. I try my best to respond. I just thank you so much for listening to me and the nonsense I have to say. I know I'm opinionated and have strong views of the game, but I really just love this game of basketball. And if you ever see me at a game, I'd love to talk to you about the game and your experiences as a fan. So, it's all about interacting, meeting people, and talking about what we love, and that's the Clippers and this dream that we have to win a championship one day and get rewarded for our loyal fandom. And here we go. Second half of the season, ladies and gentlemen. 5K on Locked On Clippers. I said let's get there before the season resumes, and you did it. Best fan base in the world. We're back, baby. The age-old proverb continues. Go Clip Show.